Z50, ZV1, that's it. ZV1 not been filming. Hello and welcome to the show. My name's Relvin. This is Do All of the Things. On today's episode, we have an old Yamaha RGX312, and apparently it has an electrical issue. Stay tuned. I did a quick Google searching of this guitar and I couldn't find much information about it. I know that it's probably pre-early 2000s, late 90s, because it's definitely older than my RGX420S. And that guitar, I think I got it in the very early 2000s. This guitar has some strange hardware, but you know, it has some modern features. My RGX, my 420, you know, it's a guitar you see me play often when I have to just grab a guitar quick. It's like the second guitar I ever purchased. It's pretty much the only guitar I ever bought new from a store where I'm like, I want that one. And it's still my favorite guitar to this day. And I've had the fair opportunity to try out many guitars. Nothing quite does it for me. It is an Ibanez RG copy, except with better hardware and better wood. Decent quality. And that quality feels like it's here. This is feeling like a solid guitar. It has some more modern amenities like cutouts here and, you know, one of these streamlined heels. It feels like, I don't know how to describe it. The action's quick and tight. The neck's a bit thicker than I'm used to. It's gonna be a bit thicker than the RG profile, the Wizard profile that was copied on the RGX 420, but it still feels like it plays really well. This particular model has just a little bit of fret wear, but I'm surprised how little it buzzes. The neck, despite its age, it's friggin' perfect, bud. It's friggin' perfect. Like, this guitar is gonna need very little setup. It does, however, have some strange hardware. Like, you look at this, it's like what I sometimes would call a wannabe Floyd. Like, it's not a Floyd. I don't know if I have tools to properly work on this. It's sitting just a little off, no big deal. It's just a little strange. Oh, I just noticed. The balls just slip into there. It doesn't have the usual clamping. I wonder how good its tuning stability is. So far, it feels okay. On the nut end, we have one of these weird arrangements where we have a normal nut here and then a lock here, and of course the locks are missing. I guess the previous owner wasn't into it. Oh boy, I just noticed the headstock's a little shredded, bud. It's funny because it looks like it's had some repairs done to it. Looks like it's gonna need a little bit more repair. That's beyond my scope. I don't do physical repairs to guitars. I do setups and electronic repairs to guitars. My specialty is electronics. I get very creative with some of those super switches. A situation like this, if you want to run it unlocked, I would just get rid of that lock. I would remove it and just use the normal nut. That way, this lock is having no effect on the string tension because it is kind of fulcruming across there a bit. If we look closely, there are some divots in there. And that's a perfect example of what I try to explain to people when it comes to Floyd Roses. Look at that damage there on the nut. That's one of the reasons why you don't run locking systems unlocked. If you have a guitar with a Floyd Rose and you run it unlocked and you tune it up here, you're gonna damage the nut. They're not meant to have strings going back and forth on a regular basis or even vibrating. They're not like normal nuts that can take that. It's gonna wear down and score that metal. And you're gonna have two different situations. When you do go to lock it, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna be able to hold the string properly, or, you know, the serrations and the damage you do to it's gonna start breaking strings prematurely. If you have a Floyd with a conventional lock nut, you have to lock it. In this case, he can get away with it because he has a normal nut. This thing gets all screwed up, it doesn't matter. And I suppose if you tune it up properly, you should get reasonable tuning stability. But my initial impressions, like, you know, after messing with this guitar a bit, I feel like it's of a quality that you can't get for less than $1,000 these days. And even though it probably wasn't that expensive, Yamahas tend to be cheaper, even though they were better than their competitors. I don't know, man. I'm gonna tell Buddy, if he starts seriously playing this, he needs to throw money at it. If he finds himself kind of in that mood, like, oh, I want a new guitar. No, throw money at this one. Better pickups, fret dress, maybe fix those issues with the headstock, and boom, you're gonna have yourself a really good player. 24 frets, and it says made in Taiwan. There's a serial number. I imagine there's a way to tell the year from that serial number. Let's try real quick. The year is going to end with a 9. It's not going to be 2009. Maybe it could be 99. And the X is October. The start of the serial numbers P and X. X is definitely October based on what I'm seeing here. Best I could tell, it's either an 89 or a 99. It could be a 99, but I doubt it. I think my guitar would have been that era. I'm guessing this guy's 89, 1989. But it almost seems too new for 99. You know what? I don't know what to tell you. If you know, let me know. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here, what's actually wrong with it. I'm not gonna bother plugging in right now to show you. It's just a situation where I flick to the bridge pickup and there's nothing. There's no signal from the bridge pickup. So this could be a really easy fix. The neck and middle pickups work just fine. The tapping appears to do something. But then I notice, can you see that weebly wobbly there? This switch is loose. You know what, if I just try to quickly snug up on it, this guy just keeps spinning. It's stripped out. What about this one? That one's not doing too well either. Now, if this one was been pretty loose, like the way the switch works, if it's in that position, the physical electrical contact's on this end. So if it's been wobbling a lot over here, maybe that's what's happened. Wire's broken off, that's wobbling. I haven't looked inside it yet. You're gonna be joining me for that experience. All right, these screws are tight. Let us, and tomatoes, see what we have here. Oh, twisted wires. Oh boy, okay. That doesn't look factory. I recognize, yeah, that's how Yamaha used to do their switches. Mine had a switch like that, except it was a super switch. I see, it's plastic. These are threading into plastic, so I guess that threading's shot. Not shielded cabling, but they like to use electrically conductive paint back in these days. This here though, what is this? This is the ground bus, I think. Has this been worked on? Because like, yeah, this does not look factory. You know what I'm thinking? It got like a pot replacement at some point. Okay, so this position is likely that is the physical connection for the pickup. Oh, but maybe not, because that's coming to these single-stranded wires that look like the neck and middle pickup. This wire here appears to be the bridge pickup. It's connecting there and there. It's connecting on 2 places on this switch. That doesn't make any sense. It's grounded out to itself. So you guys know how pickups wired? Humbucker pickups? This is a very rough, poorly accurate, but it's just gonna give you the gist of it. You have 2 coils. Each coil has a positive and negative effectively. One of them, it's often the bottom coil, is gonna be your positive. And then that's gonna go to your switch. And then the full other side is gonna be your negative. And then these 2 get tied together. And then often when you have a push-pull switch, what happens is this center tap here, as it's often called, either through the switch gets connected to positive or negative in such a way where if you connect it to positive, then that's still negative, then it's only gonna operate one coil bypassing this one. Or in some cases, that might be the full-on connection, and it grounds this out, bypassing this coil. So you end up splitting it into a single coil. This switch, like, really? Why would someone do that? So we have a switch, multi-pin. There's the common. It selects which pickup you want, you know, neck, middle, bridge. They have a connection going to here, but then the ground connection is going to the common pin, and that makes absolutely no sense. A guitar wouldn't be able to work like that. And it's like, look, seriously. There's one wire from the pickup to what I believe is the common. There's the other wire from the pickup, which I believe is the bridge. Unless that's not the bridge. I noticed when I flicked the switch all the way up to what would be the neck position, it sounded pretty good. Like it was way hotter than it should be. And traditionally, because I told you that, like, if you're in the bottom position, you're gonna use the top lug, top position, bottom lug. Maybe we're switching to the bridge pickup here. Still doesn't make sense that it's, Okay, we need to bust out the meter and double check what this switch is doing. That's what's funny, never in all my years have I found guitars wired this weird, but that's twice since I started the channel. That Harley Benton was wired wrong too. All right, meter's impedance mode. This, we're guessing, is the common. Okay, it is wired prospectively. That's the neck position. Intermediate, center, okay? And that should be the bridge position. Yes, it is. So this bridge pickup just isn't wired correctly. And to make matters worse, what's the color coding here? If I switch off of the bridge and go between here and here, what kind of impedance do I get? 12.5. Okay, so I guess it's mostly wired in series, so that part's done correctly. What happens if I pull the tap? it does split it. See, the color code is weird because sometimes, you know, there's so many of them and I haven't worked on a pickup change in a while. I think Seymour Duncan is black positive, green negative, and then white and red are the center tap. This one has green and yellow in the center tap. So what is red positive, white negative? Oh boy. And it's like you can't really find the color codes for these oddball pickups. I'm finding all sorts of oh, what is this? Not a guitar. I'm finding all sorts of color code informations, big lists here. None of them really have a yellow on them. Not without having a brown too. This doesn't have a brown. Oh, and some of these lead us to forums. So it's just like, we gotta look at this little tiny one here. Generic, not generic. Ibanez, does it match Ibanez? No, not really. You know, it could be something like a Gotha. As long as the humbucker is in phase in its wiring, it's gonna work. I guess we just have to get experimental. Let's assume that whoever worked on this roughly matched what was there before, and that white is the positive. But we have to get this red off of here. Also, the problem is if you want good tone in a guitar with the kind of passive signal it has, you really gotta get the wires in there. You can't just loosely tack them on. And this tone wire should go over to the pot down here, which is also just tacked on loosely. Just heat it up, pops right off. These are big, thick pieces of wire. I don't think these are factory. We're gonna do a little bit of clip and strip here to get some fresh pieces. This is practically power wire. No reason why it's not gonna work for signal integrity reasons. So, let us start fixing on this. We will get this wire fished through, get it in the pothole, wrap it around. So if you're wiring guitar and you want the best tone possible, you wanna wrap these wires to the contacts in such a way that you'll get a good signal, even if you don't solder them. Pretend you're not soldering them. Wrap those wires around nice. It's a pain in the ass if you wanna do a lot of pickup swaps. But I have noticed if you just tack the wire on versus wrap it, you do get a difference in tone. We are talking with pickups, it's a very low output signal. There is not a lot of energy there. You can get away with tacky inside an amplifier where the signals are already boosted and they can overcome any little bits of resistance. Marshalls, bad for that. The old Marshalls, they just tack the wires on. But on guitars with weak signals, you really gotta make sure that stuff is connected nice. We'll wrap this one around. Now we'll solder it up. So the tone knob's connected directly to the pot now. That's gonna make our job connecting to the switch easier. Don't use an iron too hot, you'll burn the pot. Make sure the pot's completely turned to one way before you heat it. All right, now that that's done, we'll take the other end of our signal wire. And there's one single solitary wire that has to go through this hole now, which is good because this wire's too thick. And again, we're gonna make sure we wrap it around without breaking the contact. It's starting to get flimsy. Oh, there it goes. Overworked component. Fortunately, we have the whole other side here to work with. I felt it when I bent it up, it was like, oh geez. Okay, so this guy's getting more work done here. Basically, we're gonna be using the other side of the switch now, and it should work very similarly. They stay in perspective. So, neck, middle, bridge, then over here, neck, middle, bridge. Same perspective. The inside's still common. Fortunately, the way this guitar is wired, we don't need these other sets. The wire's wrapped, now we tack her up. So for the pickup, we're gonna hook up just this pickup first. This wiring bus isn't the worst idea because it saves a lot of trouble of having to solder a bunch of wires to the pots. So for this situation, we are just gonna loosely tack the pickup on because we wanna do a basic function test first. We might have a phasing issue, and you can solder to these push-pulls to a point. That little tip right there is good. Okay, let's plug it in and see if it works. You know, because like there could be something wrong with the pickup. Dull sounding. Either the pickup is kind of dull or the strings are really dull. The harmonics aren't jumping out. I got a cut on my one finger here. It's making it difficult for me to really manipulate. The harmonics are there. They're just not necessarily in the same spot I'm used to. And yeah, I think the bigger strings are a bit worn out. what? I think it's fine. It's just heavier set than I'm used to. So it's taking a lot more for me to force the harmonics out of it. Okay, well that pickup's working. Let us do a little tappy tap test here. Switch to clean. Yeah, now if we pull it, do we get a tap? Yeah, this one. Okay, so next we have to hook up that middle pickup and see if we get a correct phase response. Now, there's no right or wrong way to kind of hook these pickups up, like really. It's one of the reasons why the wiring diagrams say, you know, start, finish, and whatnot. You might have recommended hot and ground, but for the most part, the sky's the limit. So even if the pickup's out of phase, it might just have an interesting tone here. You're supposed to get like kind of a ducky tone. So we'll be able to tell if this is out of phase based on if we tap it and mix it with this. I'm gonna wanna reroute on it a little bit because, well, it has to go over here now. That's assuming this is even the neck pickup wire. They look the same, and who knows the way this has been wired. Snip-a-snap. Now this guy, well, geez, you know what? We don't know. I'm gonna test it real quick, loosely. Well, actually, you know, we don't know. I am not putting anything past this guy. Let us check. I will slip the middle contact in here just to make contact, and then flick it to the middle and... Okay, yeah, that is the middle pickup. Suck to have to do that twice. That's the thing, you want to make the wiring nice, so you go do the wrappy, then you find out you did it wrong and you got to unwrappy. So we do the wrappy now. There we go. Now let's tack that in. All right, let's check our phasing. Oh yeah, it hums like a good metal single coil should. Yeah, it sounds like a single. So. Okay, we're not getting phasing conflicts. Now let's pull the switch. Now we're gonna have the kind of ducky effect. That sounds all right. Tappy tappy. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely those two pickups are working together. So the real test here is let's put it back into clean mode so you can get Fender-like tones. So bridge. Bridge single. Middle. Whoa, that's weak as frig. It's also like down really low. Maybe that should be adjusted. Mix them together. Okay, yeah. You hear how it kind of gives it a throaty sound? Like wah 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 wah. This is a really nice guitar. It's got some sustain to it too. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get the rest of it fixed up. Like, I'm pretty confident that that humbucker wiring is going to be good like that. Even though the color codes don't necessarily make sense to me, I think it's going to be okay. This wire is damaged already. Gotta strip it down even more. So that wire is so flimsy, I think we gotta do this manual. Ugh, we have some damage to the side of it here. Okay. Gonna get a little snippet of the smallest heat shrink I have to repair that damaged spot. That way if it moves, it's not gonna short out and ground it. Like there's nothing that goes on in a guitar that's bad if it shorts out. Just, you know, you'll screw with your signal. Actually made that piece a bit long. And it's a bit taut too. It's like just gonna reach. Get that wire carefully wrapped on there. And then let's tack it down. Okay, now let's get the neck moved over. And now let's wrap that guy up. All right, tack that down. Now this ground, I know I say you can't tack it, but that's hard to not do with ground connections. unless you want to go and feed it down to one of the ground lugs. Often with the pickup, the more important the pickup is, I'll wrap it around the ground lug on the tone pot instead of just tacking it to the back of the tone pot. I'm not going to move that now because it's good and it's not going to reach. Like, in order for this guitar to get completely spec'd out, it's going to need more aggressive work done to it, which is beyond the scope of this repair. It's just like, hey, can you make this work? I'm going to advise that he upgrades on this. And if he does, then I could see doing some better wiring. This heat shrink wasn't put on enough. Best of my knowledge, this guy hasn't played for a while. He's just getting back into it now. You know how that goes. Sometimes people have good intentions, and then it's just like, well, I guess I'm not that into it, not worth spending the money. That's the reason why I'm keeping this to a dull roar. Okay, so for the switch, like, these guys are stripped out. There's not much we can do about it, especially, in the plastic. And I don't have black screws to this effect, so we'll see how he feels about a little splash of splash of brass. So let's see if I can show you how I am fixing on this. It is barely able to show up in the camera, which is still currently wobbling. But I just happen to have these really tiny 440 nuts in stock, and they won't fit in place there. There's not enough room beside it for a nut to sit yet. My solution is, because it's plastic, I kind of am heating that nut up and then pushing it. There we go. So what I did was I heated it up and it melted the plastic. See if I can get you in closer here. So we melted on the plastic while pushing the nut sideways into the switch. So now it's melted into the plastic there. Now that nut's not going anywhere. Wait, did I only have one screw that size left? Maybe he'd prefer stainless. Okay, looks like we melted a little bit of plastic in the way. So maybe just a little bit of this action with a tap. And, oh, he ain't going in straight, bud. Let's see if we can't snug it up. Okay, that totally didn't work. I can feel it pushed it. You know, I got it perfect. I got it like literally perfect off camera for the first one. And then this one's being a silly muffin. We're gonna have to give it another go here. Come on, bud. Now grip that screw. I think it got it that time. Yep. Or is it just free spinning on us? Nope. Oh, yeah, there it goes. Now it's tight. Now, whether or not we can take this back apart and put it back in again is going to be up for philosophical debate. I'm not going to try. Well, I got to try on this one because I'm going to change that screw to stainless. Change that screw to stainless. What is wrong with my talking? First day with your new mouth. All right, that should work. All right, now let's test on it. So we got neck now. That sounds like a neck. Neck and middle. The effect's so subtle because the neck pickup, like, look at the pickup profile. That middle is just like way down there. I think it's done like that for a reason. It's not like, it's not coming up. Whatever it's holding in there is like kind of pretty firm into place, and it's just, it's not springing up now. So we'd have to take that out and reseat it. Like, hear the volume drop. And middle bridge tapped. And then bridge full on. Oh yeah, honk honk. Now, neck pickup for soloing and shredding. Like, that is pretty good sustain for a single coil in the neck of a shredding guitar like this. I'm surprised by how responsive the single coils are in this guy. I've thrown it all off with that eccentric bending. Could use a bit of tightening on this one tuning key. It was just one string that went off by a bit. And well, it's a floating bridge, so, you know, if he's not gonna, I don't know. I'm not a believer in blocking, honestly. The intonation is pretty good. That's a surprise. Well, she works. It needs a bit of fine-tunement, but like, we'll see. We'll see. You know, maybe flatten this bridge, which means bring it down a bit. Raise the bridge pickup just a touch. That's a lot of messing around with tuning. I'll message him, see if he wants me to put any more work into this guitar. Otherwise, I've done what I was commissioned to do. Fix the wiring. Bridge pickup's working now, this guitar's playable, and it is a good player. Wow. This is worth, like, working on and upgrading and doing all the things to, and that's what I do. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, stay tuned. Maybe we see this guitar again, maybe we don't. I don't know, it's up to him, but sometimes I work on guitars. Not all the time, you know, might not be another guitar video for months, but hey, stay tuned anyway. Still don't know how to end your videos, eh, bud? Yeah, you betcha.